Full disclosure, news and commentary number 19. You see all these $2 bills? $2 bills, y'all. I collect them. They're going to be part of my subscriber celebration. I'm at 100. I'm over 100. AWE was number 100. Oh, gotta love that. We're at 101. However, I'm not going to have one of my famous subscriber celebrations yet because my kids, of course, want to be a part of it. And it's early in the morning. They ain't doing this. But next video I do, chances are they'll be a part of it. We'll do a subscriber celebration involving these $2 bills, y'all. $2 bills, y'all. And it's going to be great. I am certainly happy that I'm over 100. It's wonderful. Let's get into it, right? Okay, we're at number 19. Full disclosure, if I've been doing them once a week, you can probably do the math, or perhaps you can't. Let's start off. Tonight, tipping point. It's going to be me. It's going to be Hankins. Hopefully Larry gets in there too. Larry's got stuff going on, but for sure we're going to have it covered one way or another. Our guest, we're going to have somebody from the Tapped Out podcast, because we're going to be going over who are the people who are leading in the Georgia Wrestling History Awards. It's certainly interesting, is it not? We are in the middle of August. Time flies, guys. And we're going to have to start talking about who are going to be the nominees for the Georgia Wrestling History Awards. Oh, let me tilt that bad boy. There we go. We're going to have to start talking about it. I figure it's a great time to start talking about it now. I don't know if it has been this competitive in multiple categories in years. Super excited to talk about it. And our guest, we're also going to have Viral Pros owner Joshua Hancock, who of course is a huge fan of Stephen Platinum. So he is not. He fucking hates me, has declared it publicly before. But we're going to have him on, because that's what I do. I have the guests on, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Or at least it's going to be fascinating. Let's get into it. Speaking of Viral Pro. So, I got a video. Unfortunately, I couldn't attach the message that was sent with the video. I shared the video because I'm not friends with this person. They need to think about being friends with me, and then I can share whole messages and all that shit. Anyway, the caption for the video, which was clearly showing that they had 400 people. Yeah, Viral Pro had 400. Fucking great number. No denying it. They panned the crowd. They had fucking 400. James Storm, great event. Awesome picture of him and Anthony Henry shaking hands. Just everything they probably wanted from that event. But the caption was something like, he's got me blocked, so he won't be able to see this, so I want you to share it so he can fucking see it. Meaning Cameron Cade. Fuck Cameron Cade was sort of the idea of the caption. And so always fun. Cameron Cade, of course, always in the middle of some shit. Always starting some shit, always having shit started with him. And Viral Pro, especially Joshua Hancock, wanted me to know, hey, put this video out so he can fucking see it, because fuck him. Oh, wrestling. I love you. I love you. The Brandon McClure benefit, which Rob Rod went to. Yeah, 300 people, $4,000 raised. The pictures from that event, truly fucking heartwarming and wonderful. And if you haven't read Rob Rod's report, you should be reading his reports. You should be reading Larry's shit. You should be reading all the other stuff going on there. GWH News and Notes blogspot.com. Check that stuff out. And of course, tipping point tonight. WrestleMerica drew 345. You notice a trend? One, all of these shows are putting their crowd numbers. Two, the crowds are going up and up and up and up and up. We're pulling out of the summer, right? And a bunch of these groups took kind of a hit in the summer. But there's one group that did not. And that group is Southern Honor. They proved me wrong. They managed to maintain good crowds in the summer and even grow them. They drew 560 for the Rumble Jack. Battle Royal. I love it. I fucking hate Battle Royals. But it sounds like the Rumble Jack went well. And in a very typical Royal Rumble fashion, used some of the same beats. Surprise entrance, people sort of manipulating the rules in order to stay in, all that kind of good stuff. So the Rumble Jack happened. A success, yeah. Chip Day shows up. Ooh, Sugar Dunkerton shows up. Awesome shit. AC Mac with that long promo. What the fuck was that thinking? I don't put that all on him. Obviously, that was some kind of decision that they made. They can't all be hits, and that certainly was a fucking miss. I guess it was a big attempt that just, I don't know. But if what they wanted was to make sure AC Mac was established as a heel, that certainly has been done. And in more than one place. Yep. AWA Championship Wrestling drew 150. All Pro 220 to 230, according to Rob Rod. Southern Underground in Tennessee, fucking 175. So a lot of places doing big numbers. And GPW for the Let's Raise Money for Cyrus's plane ticket show drew 200. They're going to be part of my commentary. Yeah. Which we're going to get to in short fashion. I want to go on a bit of a rant. I was going to do this as a platinum story time because I know I need to do a few of those, but I don't feel like it's really warranted. This is a bit of I guess you could call it national wrestling news, but a week or two ago, Ring of Honor finally put out a press release addressing the Bully Ray thing, where that one fan said some things that were deemed inappropriate about Velvet Sky. So Bully Ray made sure that that fan was taken back into the locker room and he was given a stern talking to. And there's a lot of back and forth about it. And it was the most attention Ring of Honor had gotten. Let's be honest. When that happened, wasn't that the first time that you really heard about Ring of Honor with a story of interest in many months, if not years? It was. And the fact that they were going to investigate right away or they were going to deal with it in some form or fashion was really great. But then they released this press release on like a Saturday afternoon or some horse shit when it was sure to get the least amount of attention. And it was the most milquetoast, like fucking non-committal press release ever, where it was just like, shit was done. Parties that should be punished were addressed in some way, shape, or form. That's it. If this doesn't epitomize why Ring of Honor is not even in the race anymore, if this doesn't epitomize, MLW is a better wrestling product overall. AEW is getting the most attention and immediately springboarded to number 2 before they ran a fucking show. WWE is still the show. And what is Ring of Honor? And why am I ranting about this? I've said many times that a fallacy that people have about wrestling is that things simply must exist, right? Well, this group has been running shows for years, so clearly they serve a purpose, right? At GPW, at one point I asked, why must GPW exist? And I still haven't gotten a good answer. I'm going to propose this radical thing, which I have not seen publicly from anybody. Must Ring of Honor exist anymore? You hear that, and your mind immediately fights it, or emotionally you fight it. Of course they must exist. It's another place for the boys to work, and yeah, even if they've just become a pointless farm league for NXT and other places, it's good that they're around. I didn't ask if it was good that they were around. I didn't ask if it was a net positive. If that's enough for a thing to exist, I suppose that's your definition, and fine. But Ring of Honor at this point doesn't do pro wrestling, because pro wrestling is about garnering attention. Does this mean that they don't get crowds? Maybe they do. I don't know. Do you know? Do you really know? unless you live in an area where they're directly running a show. Are they part of your television watching rotation in it anymore at this point? It's like Impact. They continue to do shows, things continue to happen. And Impact, I will give them credit, at least with the Tessa Blanchard wrestling dude stuff, people are watching on some way, shape, or form, or at least paying attention to them. And what does it say when Impact, which has virtually no television viewing audience at this point, still grabs more headlines than Ring of Honor? It's a very strange time in wrestling. I said at the beginning of 2019 that this was going to be the years where it was going to be the have and the have-nots. And in Georgia wrestling, we've seen this play out in a number of very strange ways. But I think it's a microcosm for what's happening on the national scene. Very strange time in wrestling, right? Some people have had the screws put to them by various entities, including myself, and I don't apologize for that. And we've seen them rise to the occasion. Now, I'm not taking credit for these groups doing better. But I think a little pressure is not a bad thing. Yeah. People at Anarchy may not like it when Larry says, or I imply, that the talent level at Anarchy is not what it used to be. And they may fight that, they may resist that, they may argue. But there is no denying it. And I think when you have Anarchy's Hostile Environment, which is one of their biggest shows of the year, and you have the War Games, or whatever the fuck they're allowed to call it now, I think that's something else we're talking about on Tipping Point, is how this like trademark thing has made it so you can't call your thing the War Games. Makes me glad PCW is not running that July 4th show anymore, because Revolutionary War Games was one of my favorite fucking names I ever coined. But that's neither here nor there. But when Hostile Environment, the overall crowd response is way less. When basically the only thing that you can say definitively absolutely worked was Matt Hankins against Rose. That's the only thing that you can say like abso-fucking-lutely worked the way it was absolutely supposed to. And by the way, did Matt Hankins take a giant step towards being fucking manager of the year in what is basically a two-horse race betwixt he and Doc Brock? Absolutely. Yeah. Fucking that blood picture. You see that, Daryl Morris? That's how you fucking get pictures, and that's how you fucking get color in a way that fucking gets heat. And he made her look like $1 million. And that whole fucking finish had Matt Hankins' fucking fingerprints all over it. Just fucking great shit all around. Yeah. But Anarchy, I had said at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, that they were a B-list show in danger of becoming a C-list show. And is there a doubt that that's more the case than ever? Now, I will say they drew 200, and that's a great sign. And there is something to be said for developing new talent, and the fact that Griff, showed that he could be a solo star. That's all well and good. But Logan Creed is now officially done with them, apparently, and they don't have fucking star power. Star power fucking matters in pro wrestling, folks. No matter what people want to say, no matter how they want to couch it, bookers and owners always think that star power is not a thing. That it's ultimately they who make the promotion. And it's about centering it around the promotion, which is what ECW did so successfully. But it was also part of their downfall. Because ECW could pretend that it was really about those letters ECW all they wanted, but the simple fact was you knew it was dead when fucking Taz left and the Dudleys left when they did. It's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. It's a star-driven business. And if you look at these shows that did so well, right? Brandon McClure benefit is a different animal altogether, but you still got some A-list Georgia talent to turn out for that thing. It matters. Viral Pro, right? They've centered, who is that picture of that they put out, right? It's not of the entire promotion locking arms, right? It's Anthony Henry, who's a hot hand right now, right, shaking hands with James Storm, who's the money talent that they brought in to put the promotion over, and he did just that. You know? Wrestling, no matter how much we get, and here's further proof, right? Southern Honor, right? Alan Angels is their champion, but he's booked on the undercard everywhere else. right? They do a disastrous ending to their show in front of their biggest audience to date. 1,000 people watched Alan Angels get absolutely murdered. And what everybody told me when I had written that thing and I put out that video about how fucking shitty that ending was um, publicly, not privately, that's a different thing. But publicly, people were like, Steve doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and Alan Angels is going to be fine, and he's going to come out this thing fucking stronger than he went in, and, you know, he's going to be painted as this hero, and then all that becomes is he's so fucking tough, and where are we now? They took the title off of him. They basically riding the AC Mack horse to the point where they gave him that long of a fucking promo. Jesus Christ. Right? Alan Angels is nowhere to be fucking seen, and in other promotions he's beginning to rise up. But at Southern Honor, he got exposed, and I'll just say it, and I know it's going to upset people, but he got exposed as having no star power. That's the truth. Now maybe they'll bring him in at Southern Honor and have him capture some star power again, but does anybody in their right mind think that that star is going to shine as brightly as Corey Hollis's is right now? Logan Creed's? Even the entrance, the surprise entrance into that thing seemed to have a thing, right? It's the reason why Sugar Dunkerton gets a reaction and then does his thing with Ashton Starr, who's another guy whose star is shining very bright. And Chip Day comes in and it instantly matters, and their fan base care, right? Star power matters. Being a good hand is wonderful, guys. Being a good hand is wonderful. Just like movies and plays and stuff need great character actors. But nobody dreams of just being a character actor. Not if they're truthful about themselves. They want to be a character actor, but they want to be a character actor that manages to become something more. Sam Jackson, for example. Yeah. Do you want to be Sam Jackson? He was pretty much defined as a character actor who forced his way through sheer charisma and personality and running his gimmick into being a star, right? Or do you want to be Ed Harris? Ed Harris has had a wonderful movie career and it's still going strong and he's great in fucking everything. But he never quite reached the top. An Ed Harris movie is not a blockbuster. And never forget, in pro wrestling, the ultimate point is you want your star to shine. You want to keep ascending because of that shine. You want to be a draw. You want to be marketable. News. A bunch of shows are happening this weekend coming up. Obviously, this last weekend was a very big one for wrestling in general in the Southeast. The weekend before, I called, the biggest weekend that happens in Georgia-ish wrestling. And now coming up, more shows still. Right? People are back in school. Football is cranking up. It's going to be an interesting test for different wrestling groups. But now let's get to the commentary. GPW Fundraiser show. Ostensibly, that's how it's billed. For Cyrus to buy him a plane ticket to go to Japan. Woody gives a plaque to Daryl Morris in an obvious public show of, thank you for all you've done, Daryl. It's a nice moment, right? And this whole show sort of centers around a supposed fundraiser. I say supposed because the plane ticket's already bought, so this is about people recouping money. Is there anything wrong with that? Not necessarily, but there's an element of the deceptive in there, is there not? Plus, there's the very notion that you're buying somebody's plane ticket to go work a Japanese promotion, which would strike some people as very odd, but it's not an atypical practice nowadays, or the last 10 or 15 years, honestly. The notion that, it does debunk the notion that, by the way, that Noah is one of the major promotions in Japan. They're clearly not. If you're having guys buy their own plane ticket, it doesn't really count. Um, and Sonny Ono has something to do with that, right? Sonny Ono is the guy who's basically come up with the system, and he's a liaison. And Sonny Ono is a piece of shit. I'm not a fucking fan of his at all. Dealt with him on more than one occasion. But that's neither here nor there. So Cyrus is going to go wrestle in Japan, and I think everybody can agree that that's a good thing for him, and that he's got an appeal for the Japanese. Big old fucking guy. It's a place where Cyrus, let's be honest with ourselves, in spite of his size and it's easy to work with him. And I've been in a match with Cyrus before, not one-on-one, fuck no, but part of a War Games thing. I'm not supposed to say War Games. Eek. Easy to work with, decent hand in the ring, big dude. All this spells, you can reinvent yourself in Japan if you're that guy. And the hope is, he'll go there and he'll really impress and his star will rise. Even though with Noah that doesn't really happen, I can go into that at length more. Let me just say, Japanese promotions are strange, and one thing that remains the same is if you work for a promotion when you start, unless you reach the highest echelons, you generally kind of get married to that company, and then that becomes your reputation. You're a Noah guy. And once you're a Noah guy, it's very hard to get to the others. Now, that's less the case now than it used to be, but all right. I'm getting a little sidetracked. Let me get back to it. By bringing in another huge story that happened nationally, which is the passing of Harley Race. Harley Race died. And you go through the usual reactions you see publicly. Mike Moonahan, by the way, wrote the best tribute for Harley Race. I put the link on my Facebook. You should go find it and read it. It's great. I'm sure Dave Meltzer will put out an amazing thing, but I think Mike Moonahan has become better at writing tributes than Dave Meltzer, which is saying something. Dave Meltzer wrote the best wrestler tributes, and now I think it's Mike Moonahan when he is so inclined. I'm just throwing that out there. People can have their opinions. That's mine. It's correct, however. Does that mean if I croak tomorrow, I wouldn't want Dave Meltzer to write me a thing? Fuck, that'd be amazing. Yeah, who knows what the fuck he'd say? Oh my God. Yeesh. But, Harley died. And then Trevor Murdoch said that, the WWE very quietly paid for all of his stuff. Like, they flew him home. And then they paid for all the funeral expenses. And the WWE, rightfully so, was lauded, right? They did this wonderful thing, and Trevor Murdoch sort of put this story out. Let me ask you this. Here's the part where it takes a turn, right? This is the tilt, as they say in performance. What if it turns out that the WWE told Trevor Murdoch to do this? Hear me out. What if they said, hey, Trevor, can you put out this story? Can you put out the fact that we did pay for this stuff? We really did pay for this stuff. And we want to promote that fact because of how it makes us look. It makes us look wonderful. But we know that it coming out from us looks bad, so can you just say it? Would that change your perception? It wouldn't change the fact that they paid for the flight for Harley Race to get to be home when he died. It wouldn't change the fact that they paid for the medical stuff. It wouldn't change the fact that they paid for the funeral. But there would be something unsavory about the WWE wanting public acclaim for it. Wouldn't there? So I hate to say this, but this is a big reason why you tune in, is because I shoot straight. So how's GPW creating a whole show around Let's raise money for Cyrus's plane ticket to Japan. Any more unsettling? Is it a good act to buy the plane ticket for Cyrus? Yes. And of course, that's already been done. So the show is really about just recouping expenses without any accountability. And I'm not saying anything untoward is going on. I'm not saying people are making money on the deal, but perhaps they are. And the fact that ultimately this is about, and I mean literally giving Daryl Morris a plaque and sort of celebrating him as part of this show, is there not something unsettling about all of it? And I love Woody. Woody is probably not a huge fan of mine as of late because of things that I've said. But my goal, as I state many times, is to not only clean wrestling up, which is what I state many times, but also I just want us to do better. What am I saying? Am I trying to regulate people's behavior? I guess in some small way, maybe. I will say this, no matter what people think of me, and God knows they think many things that are negative. Have I ever helped somebody, in particular in wrestling, and just done it to do it? Somebody pointed this out to me, and it really put a finite point on this. I'll just say it. If this was the situation, Cyrus was my guy, I would have just bought him the fucking plane ticket and not told anybody. Isn't it just as simple as that sometimes? This is full disclosure.